Alright, first is One Piece. It was episode 680, titled The Devil's Trap, a Dressrosa Extermination Plan. And basically the main focus of the main points was, you had the whole thing where we found out that Doflamingo's was that the Doflamingo wasn't dead, and that he was actually, that was a string clone. And so the string clone tries tries to, and the real Doflamingo try to kill Kiros. But Luffy helps Kiros get out of the way, and then they try to do a double attack on them both, and they manage to get away. And then you had Luffy, who tries to jet Gatling Doflamingo, but Doflamingo blocks with his cloak, of all things, that is endowed with armament haki. And then armament haki punches Luffy in the face. And then shortly after this, he has Pika throw everyone out of the palace. Yeah. And then proceeds to have Pika rearrange the entire landscape of the island. All the while, Doflamingo, from his string clone, creates the bird cage that seals off the entire island with strings. So things can't get in and out because the strings are razor sharp. But also prevents radio signals from going in and out. You can communicate with other people within the bird cage, but you can't communicate with anybody outside the bird cage. Which, now that I think about it, I didn't think about this when the bird cage was activated in the manga, but it actually makes more sense now that I see it in the anime. The reason, most likely, why bird cage blocks out radio signal, the Dendemushi signals, is probably because it actually cuts the airwaves, so they won't get through, or if they just can't function properly, because the radio waves are actually cut. And then Doflamingo proceeds to initiate the parasite string to control various people to start causing chaos. And he thinks he's smart, clever, and tries to use a parasite string to control Fujitora, but Fujitora just grabs it and is like, get out of here with this shit. And then, after the Pika finishes removing or rearranging the entire island, Doflamingo proceeds to announce a game. And that is this. The game will end one of two ways. One, you kill me. Or sorry, 3 ways. Or 2 ways. If everyone doesn't want to die, they have to win the game. And there are 2 ways to win. 1, kill Doflamingo, or 2, kill all of the people he's about to name. Which, of course, the name reveal, the list of names is going to be saved for next week's, or this weekend's episode, the next episode, 681. So, but overall, it was a so-so episode. I mean, we got the progression of the birdcage being created, and the Doflamingo family Hunger Games is about to begin. So anyway, we're now focusing on, so that's progression, but as usual, it's been very slow. So, so that's pretty much really it. That was only an okay episode. Next, Fairy Tail, episode 218, entitled Believe. Now, this episode was basically your typical, it's again filler episode, and basically has Natsu on the searching for the eclipsed spirits inside the celestial spirit beast, which is also known as the eclipsed king, spirit king. And while the remaining the remaining fairy tale members are weakening the beast by attacking him from the outside. He eventually finds the real celestial spirit king's original body chained to a sphere of eclipsed energy that holds the eclipsed celestial spirits energy, and that they're basically trying to they haven't completely taken over the eclipsed energy hasn't completely taken over the celestial spirit king, and after several failed attempts to break the celestial spirit king free, Natsu, in Natsu fashion, decides to use his dragon slaying powers to eat the energy of the sphere, so he can get enough energy to destroy the sphere and free the king. Which also, and then after that, the celestial spirit world returns to normal. You see all the zodiac spirits return to normal conveniently with their memories of their eclipsed selves and everything that happened during this arc to completely forgotten, so that it will never be brought up. And the wizard, and before the wizards return home, the zodiac spirits renew their contracts with Lucy and Yukino. Now, hopefully, this is the last filler episode of this filler arc. I don't care if there's other filler episodes, just as long as it's not filler episodes that are part of this arc, because this arc's been terrible and has only served a purpose, only served to make people hate fairy tale anime more. So, but we'll just have to see what happens in next week's episode. Or actually, next week's episode. So, that's that. And next, we have Naruto Shippuden, episode 398, The Night Before the Second Exam. And but pretty much that basically explains the plot, what basically it's about. The episode is basically a series of events that happens on the night before the second part of the tuning exams. It also showcases some of the subplots of this filler arc, which is the one side plot of a rebel group trying to assassinate Gaara, as well as the Jinchuriki, the waterfall village, the village hidden in the waterfalls, Jinchuriki, as well as the Rain Village, which has also been a focus, as well as the actual contestants of the competition. Now, at the beginning, you see a group of random characters who are about to arrive at the village or the checkpoint for the next exam, and only to be stopped by two Leaf Jonin, who basically said, "Oh, you got here too late. You didn't get here. We got enough people competing because only the first 30 teams got to compete, and they all so." And then you have also and then you see at night a masked figure breaks into the Kazekage's office building to try and kill him, but unfortunately Konkuro's there and chases after him. And before this would-be assassin tries to kill Kankuro in a suicide bombing, but before he does so, he states that he seeks to reform the land of Whim. And but thankfully, before he can uh, utilize this suicidal attack, Tamari shows up and blows him away. And both of them inform Gar of this in the morning, telling him that he should not oversee the second exams because if these people have stepped up their game and they really are trying to kill you, so don't do that. And then we see that oh yeah, Kakashi. Then the next scene is Kakashi. He is reporting to Tsunade about how he was unable to infiltrate the Rain Village, and he wasn't able to actually meet Hanzo in person, and how he suspects that there's something fishy going on there. And then we switch back over to the where the exam's being held, which is called in the Demon Desert, and they are staying at the checkpoint as a part, instead of the actual village. And that you also see that Team Kurenai, Team Guy, and Team Sakura, Ino, and Choji are there, and that they've made it and qualified. You also see, and then the next part is when at dinner, and everyone's being fed dinner, and this is where things get kind of really stupid, because they took a scene that was more made for probably a comedic scene, but they took it too seriously, because what they tried to do was, there was this one ninja from the village, the grass village, who was just qualified, and by qualifying meaning he ran for 3 days straight from the village, the Konoha, to this checkpoint for 3 days straight, was running, and he was probably 3 to 4 times fatter than Choji, and was sweating more than Bambina's balls. Anyway, and they tried to make a joke about how everyone didn't want him to get near the food because they were afraid that his sweat was going to get all over the food. And they ended up taking it too seriously and having everyone try to stop him and his sweat from touching the food, only to have the food get destroyed in the process. And then a fight breaks out, and no one seems to, and there are people trying to stop it, and they can't do it anyway. And then, out of nowhere, Fu, the Jinchuriki from the waterfall village, breaks through onto the scene, literally by breaking through the window, and tries to make friends in peace, but only have her display pretty much just dispel the fighting. And Choji tries to sneak out to the Jonin quarters in hopes of getting food, since their food was destroyed. Sakura and Ino try to stop him, but they all get attacked by a giant scorpion and have to be rescued by Fu. And then Gaara, who appears on the scene later, is amazed that Fu was able to that she decided that Fu would rescue ninja from another village. And of course, stating how this reminds him of Naruto. That seemed to be the theme of this episode, was how much Fu reminded the Naruto's friends of Naruto. And then you see and then this episode ends with it being the next day, and how they explain the second tuning exams, which pretty much is pretty much the exact same thing as the last second test, except instead of it's in a different location, and you have only 72 hours as opposed to, I think it was 5 or 6 days, I think, in the first time around. And so, I mean, it was an okay episode. I mean, the main focus of this arc, the thing that's supposed to be the main point of this arc, which is the tuning exams, seemingly took a very like was put on the back, seemingly put burner, and whenever it was, brought up, it seemed kind of wasn't that the main focus wasn't the main focus, and that the subplots of the Rain Village and the people trying to assassinate Gara and Fu, and like it just they see everyone else, all the other subplots seemed more interesting. But the thing that this episode did the most was it made everyone watching like either like or love Fu, which, if I remember correctly, I believe she is the Jinchuriki for the Seven Tail. And to put it, the one YouTube reviewer put it, she seems to be a combination of Naruto and or no, was it Naruto? No, it was I'm trying to remember. What I think it was. I think he said. I think he did say Naruto and a female Luffy almost because because of that. That's just that's the way she was acting. She was all trying to make friends, and she was just jumping on the scene, being I was basically acting like. Oh no, yeah. He said specifically it was a combination of a female Luffy and Part 1 Naruto, like how he was in Part 1. And that's how he felt they were portraying Fu, and it actually makes sense when you look at it. But it's true. This episode made her so likable, and that's, I mean, honestly, that's one of the things. I mean, I haven't seen I skipped a lot of the filler on the way when I was watching Naruto, but the one thing I do like is how they had that they did do filler arcs that included the other Jinchuriki besides Gaara and Naruto and Killer B, so we can actually get some a feel for their personalities and how what they were like as people. Because you only saw them only a few of them you got to see what their Jinchurikis looked like in the canon. And this was when they, whereas majority of them before the whole reanimation palooza of the war, you didn't even get to see what they you just knew that these Jinchuriki were taken out and their tail beasts were removed, but you're not even going to get to see what they look like or what their names were. I think in the canon before the reanimation, the only Jinchurikis we saw physically, I think, was the one tail, the two tail, and then the 8 and 9 tails, and then everyone else was pretty much unknown until in the canon material until the reanimation.
Roshi.
Four tail. I don't remember him being.
It was very, very brief. He was actually knocked out. He was knocked out, and Kisame was carrying him. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So yeah. All right. So that's still, it would have been nice. Obviously, Naruto would have been so much longer if they would have had a canon arc for every Jinchuriki. But it would have been nice if they would have had taken some time to, in the canon, actually, showcase the Jinchuriki, which is, and what they were like as human beings. Which is what I liked about this. Probably the main thing I liked about this episode. And it's definitely going to be interesting to see the second part of the tuning exam, since it's pretty much basically the same thing as the last one. You're given either a heaven or an earth scroll, and then you got to get the other one, and return to and head to the given checkpoint for the center of the area. So, good episode.
Okay, so onto my side of the anime for this week, and we're starting as always with Kuroko no Basket, and this would be season 3, episode 4. And this episode was really good because the first part was about one seeing some of the Rakuzan players outside of the basketball court, and Kagami and Kuroko getting new shoes. We see Hayama, um, right? Isn't it Hayama? Yeah, Hayama do a front flip over Kagami, showing pretty nice agility. We saw Mibuchi, um, although yeah, I guess his name hasn't been revealed yet. But I mean, the name itself is not a spoiler. So yeah, the guy with long hair who Rico runs into is Mibuchi, um, and we'll find out what he does soon. And then Nibuya, the big guy who apparently eats more than Kagami, and that I mean that's about it. It was a nice foreshadowing of the fact that Rakuzan had some pretty insane players, and then we go on to see the fact that there are actually uncrowned kings or whatever next to Kiyoshi and Hanamiya, and that I mean that's about it for that. And then Kagami getting new shoes, and in Japan, apparently, I guess the shoes are harder to get because of the foot sizes. Must be the foot sizes must be a lot smaller than what you would expect in the U.S. And you know what that means, folks. But yeah. So Kuroko is able to get his shoes, but it just so happens that Kagami and Almine have the same foot size, and so Kuroko calls Momoi, and she brings Almine along with a pair of his shoes, which are the same brand. And important note, in my opinion, is Almine destroys Kagami in a one-on-one. Now in the manga, he says, "I destroyed him," and in this, more or less says the same thing, like a flawless victory or something like that, or complete. I can't remember, but it's implied that Almine literally destroyed him in a one-on-one fight. Um, and interesting thing they left out of the anime that was in the manga was in the manga, Almine says, "No, oh by the way, no more zone, or don't use the zone in this match." And or in Kagami's like, he's like, "Not like I can use it on Will anyway." So like he can or something like that. And but it really goes to show you that Kagami really is not as good as Aomine. He really isn't. Aomine is individually much better. Really, the only reason why Kagami was able to do what he did against Aomine was really just plot and because of Kuroko. I mean, honestly, I think the plot really hampered Aomine and really buffed Kagami where he shouldn't have been buffed. The whole animal instinct thing, it was like, oh, go fuck yourself. But then we get the actual game of Rakuzan versus Shutoku, which starts, and um, we got Akashi, who's been hyped up like crazy in this episode, and now um, we haven't really seen why, except for the fact that he's just a really good point guard so far and a good leader apparently. But we'll see more of what this eye is that Midoriyama mentions, and I thought it was a really good episode. It was the the basketball itself was pretty good. The pacing was a bit quick. It's a lot different from what I'm used to, obviously, because I just got done watching Slam Dunk. So yeah, that's it for Kuroko. All right, so next is JoJo, and obviously our last because we only have two so far, for this season at least. Um, so JoJo was part one of Anubis, and so far I'm enjoying it. I don't have too much to say here. Mainly, I want to touch on Anubis itself. It's like an evil sword of some sort that is able to possess and like make the wielder much stronger. Or he made Chaka a lot stronger, and he got revenge on the assholes that just completely picked on him, including his own father, which is horrible. And then we get, oddly enough, well, not so oddly enough, we get it's Polnareff who's the one to fight. I don't know. I'm kind of sick of like Polnareff and or not. Let me rephrase that. I'm kind of sick of like episodes that are driven for Polnareff. Like I understand Jotaro because he's the main character, and I understand Joseph because he is a main character. But really, Polnareff has had more focus than both Joseph and Kakyoin. Honestly, I mean Polnareff's good. Don't get me wrong, I like him, but I wish there was more focus on Joseph and Kakyoin because both of them are far more interesting characters. Like Kakyoin has much more to offer in general, but they're just not showing him enough. Like I thought the whole like what was it, Death 13 was the name um, of the baby with the stand, the lally ho, that bullshit. Like that, like that was a great like thing for Kakyoin because of the way he handled it. Like I like his strategizing and things like that. Oh, for God's sakes, Avdol. He's been out of the game for so long. Focus on him once in a while. I do understand because it's a sword versus sword. You have a rapier versus a katana. I think that's what it is, right? I think it's a katana. A shodachi, probably. And I I do get that, but still, even like I think I almost think there's almost more focus on Polnareff than there is Jotaro at a lot of times. Like like let me when we think about like centerfold, like Whole Horse, and then the old lady, I can't remember her name. Um, you had the whole thing with Avdol and the "Hail to you" thing. I mean, he's had a lot of focus. And now Anubis. Okay, I can't quite say he's and there have been more fights with him, but I mean it's close. Polnareff's at almost as much focus as Jotaro, and that to me is not what should be happening. Obviously, this was written in the late '80s or early '90s, so obviously they're not going to change that story. But I don't know. I just think it's a problem because he's probably my least favorite out of the group. I mean, I guess tied with Avdol maybe. I don't know. I like Kakyoin better, and I like Joseph obviously. Joseph, especially in part two, but he's great in part three. And Jotaro is just amazing. I don't know, but other than that, I thought the battle was pretty cool. I like the abilities of Anubis, being able to cut through things pretty much at will. That's pretty strong. I mean, obviously it's a theme of a stun to be like really strong, and but it could still cut through things when it wanted to. So, but it could also like literally phase through it when I'm at. But I guess that's it. I don't know if it's gonna affect Polnareff next, but we'll see what happens with Anubis Part 2. And I thought it was a good episode.